Here's my take for the day. I'm looking at two things. The first one is entitled, Before We All Crucify Dele Farotimi. We should ask ourselves the question, are we entitled as a people to a fair, objective judicial process that interrogates those allegations that Mr. Farotimi has made in that his controversial book? There are allegations, no doubt, but the weight of those allegations, do they require us to seek and pursue a fair and honest, transparent, objective judicial process to interrogate them indeed, whether they are true or not? Before we crucify Dele Farotimi, should we already conduct ourselves in a way that suggests that he or his action is condemnable, even before we know the truth or lack of it regarding those weighty, even seemingly wild allegations? Should we just act as though he should already begin to serve punishment right away? Because that is what is happening now. He was harassed and arrested in a manner that was not tidy. And even the police procedure were reportedly breached. And is clearly beginning to suffer punishment, even before we get the opportunity for interrogating the issues and the allegations that he raised in that book. All of us, before we start to crucify Dele Farotimi, should we not ask ourselves whether he's due for punishment, even before the judges can make a statement in this matter? Then should we not ask ourselves, what kind of society do we aspire for? Before we crucify Dele Farotimi, should we not ask ourselves, do we want the rule of law and the rule of law under a democratic system? If yes, why do we still keep those colonially oppressive legal instruments intact? Is that not why we must dove our hearts for the people of Lagos and Edo states that have decriminalized defamation in their criminal code? And we must pause to give kudos to such people, like the then Lagos State Governor, who is now the President, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We must praise him. And we must praise his then Attorney General, former Vice President Yemi Osinbajo SAN, and those in Edo who ensured that the criminal defamation is out of the code in their states. Because they clearly understand that our aspiration as free Nigerians is to move away from the colonial vestiges where the colonialists considered us as less than human beings, certainly not free people. When we were perceived as enslaved subjects, that was the use of the criminal defamation. But we still have those codes in 34 states. The question now is, in those states, are their leaders still aspiring to deal with Nigerian citizens as though they are under colonial rule or enslaved subjects? Or why is the criminal defamation still in the books in those states? 64 years after Nigeria's independence, are Nigerians in any and every of those states in this federation, are they entitled to a life where their fundamental human rights are affirmed and protected as it's meant to be, since they are not enslaved subjects? Because that was the purpose of the colonial legal statutes that gave us criminal defamation. It's an important thing to think about before we crucify Farotimi, without first telling ourselves that we deserve a fair, objective judicial process that appropriately interrogates the claims that he's making. And the second point is still on the tax reforms. We want to encourage the negotiations that have started between the executive arm of government and National Assembly on the tax reform bills that the Mr. President sent. This is what we have always said here, when we say that the National Assembly is the proper forum for the widest possible and most effective form of consultation, not the governor's forum.